hello to the Mediocre Gamer Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Anthony, aka Ain't Easy, aka Southern Hostility, aka whatever you want to call me, as long as it's not disrespectful. I'm locked in with AJ, my best friend of a week. AJ, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. You know,
why
just
just
life.
fine?
Well, so I started sober October on October 1st, and I thought it would be cute to be like, yo, like I'm gonna work out and like I'm gonna be sober until Halloween. That's what I thought. And the problem is I hurt real bad. I woke up in the middle of the night. Yesterday was arms, triceps. Well, Monday, biceps. Today's Wednesday. Tuesday was triceps. Today, like I woke up at 2 a.m. and I could have cried. Like my arms were just puffy. Like I couldn't bend them. Like I was walking to the bathroom and my arms hanging like I wanted to die. It was bad.
Can't even flush
They're
the
better
toilet,
now.
can you?
I mean, listen. It was a poor decision. I wish I had like something to make me not sober. Yeah, no, it was bad, dude. It was real bad. But yes, no. People watching, people listening. First of all, thank you for tuning in. This is episode 1. AJ and I here are going to talk about just things going on in the gamer sphere and just also things we want to talk about because it's our podcast. If you don't like it, there are so many other ones you can listen to.
Speaking of which,
AJ.
Thank you for tuning in. You do have so many options, and I appreciate you guys are listening to these two jackasses talk about gaming.
That is a great outlook to have, AJ. Thank you for being so polite about that. But I have a question for you, AJ.
Yeah, go ahead.
What was the PlayStation thinking when they made the PlayStation Portable? Portal, not Portable.
Portal, yes, the Portal.
Yeah, there we go.
They weren't thinking is really what happened.
Because you know what it is, right?
Oh yeah, so it is a new PlayStation Portable, right? But instead of it being its own console, it's very simple hardware that streams games from your PS5 to like portable console. The problem is you have to be on the same Wi-Fi. Your console has to be running, and it has to be running that game. So really, at that point, why aren't you just playing your console, right?
Oh, you want to know the best part? My favorite part of the whole thing is that it doesn't stream further away than 20 feet. That's my favorite part.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's when I was like, who is this for, right? And then obviously you get to the concept of, you know, kid gamers. You get, you know what I'm saying? You get mom who gets, you know, little Sally, Jack and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, Drift Apart. That's the game I was thinking about. And, you know, you want to play on the PlayStation 5, but they want to eat animal crackers in their Spider-Man bed because it's 2023 and little Sally has a Spider-Man bed.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, so,
I think the market for it, I think the idea behind it was most people who have a Switch and Steam Deck are playing it on their bed for the most part. You know, you're chilling. Lights are out. It's, you know, 8 o'clock before bed. You're just playing some Mario. You're playing some whatever, you know, some indie game, and you want it portably. And I think that was the idea behind it. But the problem is like to me, and I think most people, that's not worth $200.
No. Especially when you consider that's basically almost half. That's like $25 short of half of a PlayStation 5, which I would love to. Whose idea was it? I need to know. And then Sony has a lot of other things going on. I believe their CEO stepped down. Who stepped down at Sony? Was it their CEO?
I think their CEO just stepped down.
Yeah, no. And so now we have the former money guy now running as an interim CEO. So I mean, we have so much time to just see if Sony is gonna dig themselves a shallow grave as far as just like public opinion, as far as like, first of all, hold up, watch this, because we said the same thing about the Switch. Do you remember when the Switch, like when the trailer for the Switch came out at like 2017 or whatever that was, and everybody was like, what's the point? And it became what the Nintendo Switch became.
Yeah.
If the PlayStation Portal does that, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I don't know what gaming is going to look like in 3 months from now, because if the PlayStation Portal is successful, what does that mean?
I agree with you, but at the same time, I struggle to see a world where it does succeed, because again, it's one of those where it's like, I'd rather go, like, you could spend just as much money and get a Steam Deck. I mean, yes, it is a bit more expensive, but you could spend about just as much to get a Steam Deck, and Sony games are starting to be put on Steam. So
yeah,
you can do that.
But
There's
you want to know
also,
something?
which of course we don't condone, but there's always the high seas that people sail, which make that a way more universal product. I again don't condone it in any way, but it happens. Like, let's face the facts here. And I think that right there infinitely makes that more worth it. I mean, shoot, even the Switch, while it's way underpowered, you can take it portably at least, and the games there are amazing. And a lot of the third-party games on PS5, not all of course, but a lot, are also on Switch and Steam Deck. So
right.
Why?
Yeah, no, for sure. Anyway, but in our talks, in us talking about the PlayStation Portal, not the Portable, I thought of a use for it, okay? And this is gonna sound stupid until you think about it.
Okay.
Streamers. Okay. You know how many people are streaming from their beds now? Okay. Like Alana Pierce, prime example, Alana Pierce. She did a whole thing where she figured out how long it would take to fly in Starfield from space to a planet's surface and not just actually teleport, right? And the way she did that, because it took like, I don't know, 8 hours, 10 hours, something stupid. And the way she did that was she was streaming it from her computer to, I'm trying to get this right. I want to say she was streaming it from her computer to her Xbox in her room. And
yes, she was watching her own stream. I remember this.
And she was watching her own stream and adjusting it so that she didn't fly away from Pluto.
Yes, yeah.
Right. So that's one use, but that is one out of literally millions of people.
Well, and keep in mind also that's like, well, first of all, Starfield isn't available on PlayStation, right. But second of all, that's such a specific use. Like you couldn't even use that again on like another game. Really, there's not many games where you are auto traveling for hours on end and your endpoint moves. Like that's so specific. Not saying that there isn't other uses. I'm sure we could think of other stuff, but that's so specific. But you know what is crazy though? It did sell out during the initial pre-order phase.
I want to be like, oh, that means it's encouraging. They probably only made like 8 of them.
Dude, I
mean, knowing Sony, I mean, look at the PlayStation 5. They made how many? And we had a shortage for how long out of the generation? And then when we think about the fact that granted, the chip shortage.
I was going to say, we did have a worldwide pandemic, so I'll give them a little slack on that one. But I get it.
Yeah, no, we had a bunch of issues going on. I'm not mad at anybody involved in that situation. What I will say, though, I can't imagine they were like, yo, this is going to be the next big thing, and we need to make 3 million, and we're going to sell out. I doubt it. I feel like they probably made 100,000, if that, and then was like, okay, cool.
So I'm curious, because, again, pre-orders sold out originally. So how many pre-orders was that?
Can you figure that out? Because if I had to guess, it's 100,000. I don't know if Sony will ever tell us how much of anything they ever make, because I feel like that puts them in way too much of a liability and a risk. But I feel like there's some really great internet sleuth that's figured something out somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any information on it. Yeah, I'm not surprised, of course. But I mean, it's at all retailers in Japan, and it was within days.
So was that maybe 100,000? Might be closer to 10,000. Japan is not that big, but I don't see a world where this does what it's supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? I just don't see it. But
no,
that's just me.
I don't think the want is there. Really, the people they're going to sell to are the like Sony, the Sony fans.
Yeah, super fanboys. The Sony ponies. And how many of them are there?
There's tons, but it depends on how many of those care enough to buy something like this. And I mean, you'd be surprised. I mean, look at Apple, for example. There's tons of people that buy the new iPhone, even though there's hardly any differences from the last model. I mean, of course there are. Yeah. But for the most part, they're pretty incremental, and there's people that will drop money and go buy a new one at the really any Apple product, an Apple Watch, a new MacBook, like anything. So there definitely are those people here for Sony too, and there's also those people that we got to remember. I mean, there are a lot of rich people out there in the world too that fuck it, this is no money to them, you know.
Yeah, but it also serves no purpose, and I feel like we can agree on that. It just, I don't get it. And maybe, you know what I'm saying? I want to be surprised. I want holiday season to come around and it's at the top. It's the new Nintendo Wii and they just knock it out the park. I would love for that to happen, but I don't see why or how.
And I think what's really going to hurt is the rumored Switch 2 to be announced this March. I think that, because at Gamescom, people were able to look at it, and the big date was March. They said that's like everyone is saying it's going to be the reveal, and they said during tests it performed as well as PS5 and Xbox Series X in certain aspects. I know that's hard to believe, and nothing's been confirmed, right? You know that's all speculation. No, sure. But if that's true, which again I find it hard to believe, even if it's as good as a PS4 and Xbox One X, this then loses even more of a purpose.
Yeah, no, because before it was cool to have the equivalent of a Nintendo 360 in your backpack. Now you have an extra screen in a world full of screens. This you know what? This would have been novel in the PS3 era. I would say the PS4 era, but that was competing with the Switch. If this was the PS3, it was like, yo, are you telling me I can play The Last of Us, the original, like in my bed? People would lose their minds. But now it's not that novel. Yeah, it's not. I want it to be. I wish it were, but it isn't.
Like I said, with the Steam Deck, what's the point? I get it. It's cheaper. It's the cheapest option out of all of them. Actually, no. Not even a Switch Lite, which again I can't play the same games. It's not as powerful, kind of. Yeah. It's cheaper than this.
Yeah, no. I think the Switch Lite might be like the same price. How much is the Switch Lite going for now? How much is a Switch Lite now?
Enough? It is $200. So the same price. Same price.
Yeah, $200, and then you can get it refurbished or used for $170. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I would much rather get a Switch Lite. I mean, granted, I also think a Switch Lite's pointless. Save up $100 more and get an actual Switch.
For sure.
But it's, I just don't see. I think the only people are fanboys and kids that are just asking for it for Christmas. Really.
Yeah.
Because I could see some kids going, yeah, like, I mean, you could easily think about it as a kid, though. Like, if your parents are like, all right, you got to go to bed, and you have this thing under your pillow, you know, you got to turn the PS5 off, go to your room, it's bedtime, I'm gaming until, 11 a.m. or 11 p.m.
Long story short, Sony, hey, listen, get it together. I don't know who pitched this at the shareholders meeting, because I know it was a shareholder. I know it was like, hey, the Switch has something going on. So how come we don't have something? I know it, and I know your engineers work tirelessly, and I know the team at Sony, they do great work. You're wrong. But you want to know what probably would boost the sales of something like this, if not this exactly?
The Switch not being a thing?
E3. If they announced this at E3, first of all, people would be upset. Second of all, more people would be talking about it. But E3 doesn't exist.
Absolutely. No. I think yeah, having a big announcement would have helped, because right now we just have Sony Directs or whatever. I forget. Days of Play, State of Play or whatever. Which
or Summer's Game Fest
don't get nearly as much attention. And again, like, the whole novelty of having a portable console's worn off. We have them, so it's at this point it's like, what are you doing? We have better stuff. Like this would have been cool pre-Switch.
Yeah, no, it would have been very cool. But you know something? Let's move on. And actually talk about E3, just because. Absolutely. Again, if this were announced at E3, how many bad things were announced at E3 that sold decently because of E3?
No, seriously, because
I'm sure there's a list.
You had the whole gaming community's eyes on stuff. Let's think back in the day, like Sega during their downfall, they still at least had everyone's eyes on it who cared. Now, like, especially for anyone that would potentially want to hop into the console space, like, yeah, you can announce it, people will notice, but you won't get nearly as much traction as if you announced a whole brand new console at E3 with that's like the gamer Super Bowl, right?
Right, but it's also not happening. Now, here's the thing. Here's the problem. I don't know if we need E3 the same way we needed E3. Not to say that I don't want E3, because going to E3 has been on my bucket list since I was like 12. But but when you take a step back, and like E3 would always be huge. I would always watch it on Spike. You remember when it was on Spike?
Yeah.
Oh, always watch it on Spike. It would always be like June 22nd or 23rd. And every time it'd be Spike, and it'd be like an hour of just games and cool games. It was like 3 days, or like might have been 2 or 3. Whatever the case was, It was cool. And then you would run to YouTube as quick as you could to see IGN, GameSpot, whatever, post these really cool clips of these really cool games that half of them would get canceled. That's an interesting statistic. We kind of take a step back. A surprising amount of them would end up getting canceled, but they look really cool.
Or what's cool is you'll see projects that never came to be. You'll see some gameplay that or like it'll be a game that came out, but it's early footage that even it's kind of neat to see like some of the old title cards of what they thought they were going to name it has completely changed. It's just like little bits of history like that. It consequently doesn't matter, but like it's neat to see.
That's an interesting thing because that's interesting. I didn't even think about that because I don't think we excuse me, I'm getting the allergies. Season's changing. My body hates it. But I don't think we need E3 from an informational standpoint, but that is interesting from like a historic standpoint because things do change in development. And not only do they change fast. And they change fast and there's like the Cyberpunk original E3 footage versus like the actual game we got is like a prime example of just things changing.
Well, and like even later E3s, like we're mainly talking, back in the day E3, like one of the more recent ones, which I know it's not a thing anymore, but like one of the more recent ones, it's mainly digital stuff. They announce shit and like, some people play it, but first of all, it's not just like sitting out where anyone can record. It's behind closed doors, can't like talk about the full experience because they, spoilers and whatnot. But then like, there's just less of a community. It feels like a lot of the people that win are in the gaming scene. They're journalists, they're YouTubers, people that are in it. It felt like less of an open community. It felt like less of come try these games. It felt like, all right, watch the showcase digitally and like that's it, which I think E3 was like the video game mecca, so to speak. It was like if you could, you would travel to video game expo,
LA
quite literally.
And
but that's what led into today's climate of not having it, because I think everyone realized it's cheaper and easier just to have everything digital. People can't, like, again, Cyberpunk, if you were able to play it then and see all the bugs and issues, that would have blown up on the internet. All reporters would have been talking about how poorly this plays. But since you just show a digital little cutscene or the bits of gameplay that does work, all of a sudden, like,
the bits of gameplay
it looks
that
great.
Does.
No one knows until it released and everyone spent their money and they got fucked for it.
Yeah, no, you don't have to tell me. I actually bought Cyberpunk the 2077 on my PS4. Not at E3, but because of E3. I remember it was as soon as Keanu Reeves was like, "You're breathtaking," and the pre-orders are now. I remember as soon as the show ended, I turned off my TV. I drove because I stayed up the street from the mall. I drove to the mall, went to the GameStop, and I was like, Cyberpunk me now. And they were like, "You want to put the $5 down?" And I was like, "No, give me the whole $65 right now. Here's the game." Yep. And that was 2 years later. It was supposed to come out like right before my birthday and everything. It was like an experience that I had that never happened. But you don't have to tell me. Which is why I'm still kind of like iffy on Phantom Liberty. But even in that sense, like, here's the thing. Because I want E3 to come back. And I don't know if we need it, but I also don't know if we need Summer Games Fest or Nintendo Directs as badly as we once did when the trailers for things we wanted are just come out.
What's silly to me is that Summer Games Fest essentially replaced it. Like, what's the point of that? Why not just keep E3? It has the name. Like, when I first heard of Summer Games Fest, I was immediately less interested because it felt like a lesser thing immediately because it wasn't E3.
Let us remember that Jeff Keighley does not own the IP to E3. I feel in my heart of hearts, Jeff Keighley would have loved to just bought the E3 name and keep E3 just as a digital only space, because Jeff Keighley knows that we all love E3. We have a very special place in our heart for E3. But I feel like Jeff Keighley may. One day I'm gonna stop saying his full name. It's not gonna be today though. But I feel like he knows that like we need something, especially for like I remember he like showed off Callisto Protocol like early, right? I remember he showed off like a bunch of games that like Summer Games Fest 2 or 3 years ago, and yeah, it was a big deal because E3 wasn't happening, and I don't know if it will anymore. I would love for it to though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same. Well, and
Sidebar.
I've heard like I know Jeff is for the gamers. Like I've seen multiple
Yes.
accounts of people that are like, I met Jeff just randomly out, fucking restaurant, wherever, you name it. And like I sat and talked to him for like an hour about games, and like we just had a great time. And I'm like, that's so cool because he's big enough where he can I don't care, like, or like appease him for a minute or two and then leave. But the fact that he will sit down and talk with you and like fully like divulge into a conversation with you is so cool. It shows what kind of a person he is because he has the money to pretty much tell people to fuck off if he wanted. I mean,
yeah, no, and I feel like this is what he did with Summer Games Fest. I mean, if we take a step back, he was just like, listen, I want to show the games I want to show. And it's like, yeah, we're going to get sponsors. We're going to get the big games everybody wants, the new God of War. We're going to get this. We're going to get that. But we're also going to show games like the Callisto Protocol. We're going to show the smaller games that we probably wouldn't necessarily get. But now in a world where like Rockstar Games, I don't think Rockstar Games has been to an E3 since GTA 4. If we think about it, like some of our biggest games that have happened didn't go to E3. Ooh, what you looking up?
Well, and then Nintendo started doing directs. They backed out of everything altogether, and
the Nintendo
led into
directs.
Something that I am really not a fan of right now. I get it, and it works better for companies, but everyone's doing their own direct except for Xbox. They're sticking, and I love that. Everyone's doing their own thing now, and I get it because you build more of a community around yourself. It's not like you're not overshadowed by these other games. Like, it is just your presentation. And if you're already pre-recording it anyways, why would you spend the money to, like, have a space there? But at the same time, like, it sucks not having that community as a fan and as a gamer. I mean, don't get me wrong, and this hurts myself by saying this, but of course I tune into every state of play and every Nintendo Direct, so
because I know you will see if you want E3 to happen, you need to stop watching everybody else.
It's the same saying that goes like when people request games and different franchises to come back. Well, if you want them to keep making those games, you have to vote with your money, vote with your wallet. Same thing with that, like
100%.
Vote with your time, really. And unfortunately, though, I'm just too big of a nerd to not be there,
Yeah, no, listen, I understand. When Nintendo announced their first Nintendo Direct, it was like a big deal. But it also just felt, I think it was a big deal because nobody had done it before, right? And it's not too dissimilar from just sending out review codes, for example, which, gaming companies have been doing for years. It's not too unlike, like, a lot of stuff they do, like just flying gamers out. I know Ubisoft just flew a bunch of gamers to France, somewhere in Europe. I'm not good with geography, and they just flew them all out and was like, listen, this is a really early build of the game, but this is what we feel it represents, what we've got going on, how it is gonna change the experience from Valhalla and like other really, really big Assassin's Creed games. But at the same time, I feel like they did that. I feel like that whole production, because we got to remember, E3 booths weren't expensive. That's how they made their money back. So when we take into consideration the fact that you fly 10, 20 video game nerds to Paris or wherever they went and just go, hey, play this video game and tell your people what you saw, that probably saved them a lot when compared to getting a booth.
And that's a symbiotic relationship there, because they get their game out and then those gamers get better reviews on their channel because they're talking about it early before it's even released.
Sometimes
I'm looking at this stuff right now for Spider-Man. I'm trying not to watch too much. You know, I'm very excited. But
Of course, of
there's
course.
some YouTubers that flown down to, oh yeah, I have no idea where, but they got flown down to these headquarters.
Somewhere in the world.
Gotta see this early stuff, play the game early. They, walk through like a museum-ish kind of setup, like for the game, where you walk through Craven's office, saw statues of
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man, all this cool stuff. And people are eating those videos up. So Sony's getting a lot cheaper publicity because all they do is fly them out there. And then those YouTubers are getting great viewership. I mean,
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, listen, it is like a partnership for sure. But now I think what also kind of switched it up was YouTube and the landscape that is gaming YouTube. Hey, YouTube, people watching. Just because like now you have IGN competing with not only GameSpot, not only Game Informer, but now people like Markiplier who accidentally make franchises, billion-dollar franchises. Now you're competing with not just the PewDiePies of the world. Now you're competing with 10 people that are huge in the gaming space, that all have their own opinions and very different outlooks on just gaming.
Yeah. And I mean, even like speaking of that, like even IGN has to be struggling somewhat with all these YouTubers because they didn't really have that
They are
too much competition before. And I look at it as I'd rather watch a gamer's review because I know it's going to be, especially if it's not sponsored, because I know it's going to be an honest one. When I look at IGN, they could have been paid for all I know. I know a lot of their takes are whatever. They're corporate. I'd rather go see a genuine YouTuber's review over IGN's. IGN's review is almost a meme at this point to watch.
I mean, sometimes. Listen, 10 out of 10 IGN, you understand what I'm telling you. But you also got to like really keep in mind that I'm sure that somewhere in their hearts, they would love to just be like, you know what, let's just get gaming person A and gaming person B. Let's contract them out so that they can play the game and write the review. The problem is most people who go on to be these huge gaming YouTubers don't have journalism backgrounds to be gaming journalists. So now they're just nerdy fanboys just talking about what they like and don't like, which is all gaming journalism is. But now they're not qualified to work at gaming platform A, B, or C, not to single out IGN or anywhere else. But yeah, no, it's an interesting kind of world we live in where gamers aren't qualified to talk about games, and now you have those gamers being bigger than the platforms that talk about games.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the thing is, though, while yes, they aren't technically qualified, I think experience speaks for a lot more than a degree does, and this is getting outside of the gaming sphere.
Oh yeah, that's 100%.
I truly do think that it's playing multiple games and really being able to compare to previous experiences is what makes you competent in doing that. And IGN people, same thing, and any other Game Informer, all of them, of course, a lot of them play a shit ton of games. But the problem is they have to grind out those games as quickly as possible, get an article out as quickly as possible. While YouTubers do that in a way where they have to grind out the game quickly to get content out, they also, though, they had the freedom of taking their time as they could stream that. They can just make multiple videos on the game and then do a retrospective at the end.
Versus
they
embargo here, embargo there.
And then make a retrospective once they're done. Like, there is a lot more freedom for gamers there. They don't have to crunch through it and not be able to, like, they're able to sit down and truly enjoy the game at their own pace versus, shit, we have less than a week to get this out. Shit, 48 hours. Like, we got to finish this game and get a review out. Like, it's a lot.
And that's why E3 is dying. Well, okay, E3's not dead yet. I think they're going to do one next year.
Really?
But
what makes you think that?
So I was, whenever the drama of them not doing it this year happened, I thought somebody released a statement. This was months ago. But I thought somebody released a statement that E3 isn't dead. E3 is happening again. They just had to restructure as far as what's going on, as far as like having a physical space, because now they can't afford where it's always been because it is really big. And now you only have Microsoft, and that's not even guaranteeing the 18 trillion studios that Microsoft is trying to acquire is going to be there. And plus, now we're in a weird space where like a lot of indie games who genuinely cannot afford a spot on an E3 floor are
No.
making millions of dollars off of incredible games. Five Nights at Freddy's would never be at E3 in 1,000 years.
No. And that's one thing I really applaud Nintendo for. They're getting worse at it, but they've always pushed indie games a lot.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
I've always appreciated that because they need that space. Because there's so many fantastic indie games that are truly just absolute bangers. And they deserve recognition and praise. And there's quite a few that don't get that. Like, I'll see all the time, like, comments like, oh, hey, you got to try this game out. You know, if you're looking for something like this, you'll love it. And I'll play the game, and I'm like, wow, this is freaking fantastic. Perfect example. Everyone should go play this. Blue Fire on, for sure it's on Switch. I think it's on Steam and other things, but it's
what
looks
is
like a
Blue
Zelda
Fire?
dungeon
What is that?
crawler. It's super cheap. It's like $10.
Oh, wait a minute.
But
I think I know what you're talking
it has
about.
fantastic movement. It's like if you mashed like an endless, like it's one giant dungeon, so a giant, absolutely massive Zelda dungeon with Mario movement. Not as refined, but like that kind of movement.
Yeah, but no, the idea. Oh, okay,
It's
okay. I think this game is
such a
actually on
fantastic
Switch
game.
and
Everyone should go try it.
PlayStation
It's
4,
so cheap,
if I'm not
underrated,
mistaken.
and that's a good example. It didn't really get any publicity, and it is so underrated. And there's so many games like that.
For sure.
And
Yeah,
I think-
and you want to know what they also wouldn't do? They wouldn't have a spot at E3.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say. I think if E3 were to come back, which, by the way, I did just look this up right here from GameRant.com. Despite the rumors of E3 being canceled for the next 2 years, nothing has been officially decided for the show's 2024 and 2025 events as of this writing. So,
I mean, it's possible. I know that they were working through just figuring out where it was going to be, for one, and two, figuring out what it's going to be, because if E3 does a Summer's Game Fest, why?
yeah, exactly. I mean, why would E3, which already has a big name and a big following, allow Summer Games Fest to essentially overtake them? It's silly.
I mean, I don't think they had a choice, dog. Like, I think Jeff. I didn't say his last name. I think Jeff just came in and was like, you know what? I want to talk about games, and he did.
Yeah.
I think it was that simple, and E3 fell behind, and obviously, you know, COVID put the whole world on pause. I'm not blaming anybody for COVID, but you know, there was. Go ahead.
Really, COVID killed it. I think for the most part.
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
Jeff, Mr. Keighley, was.
Mr. Keighley.
I think he was always a part of E3. I think it was mainly COVID, and the reason why is, again, companies realized they could do a pre-recorded like showcase on their own time and people will watch it because they didn't have E3 during the COVID year. The first 2 years,
The COVID year.
they were canceled. Yes, because of COVID, they were they're too divisive. They got canceled, right? And so companies started to get their stuff out. So Nintendo started having directs. Sony started having state of plays, and they realized, well, fuck, it's cheaper just to upload this up to YouTube myself than pay to put it at E3. And I think that is really what killed it more than anything else.
I mean, listen, yes, but also, I mean, when did Sony back out of it? Like 2018?
Yeah, they backed out of it a while ago because they still
They backed
stopped
out of it
having
early.
shit to
They were
show.
the first one to be like, this isn't viable. They were just like, we're not going to E3. And at the time, everybody was like, that's crazy. And, you know, it's kind of like the whole streaming thing debate. It was just like, why would I want to get Netflix and Peacock and Disney Plus and HBO Max when you realize, oh, there are different things on each of these platforms. And obviously it's all corporate speak, and it should probably all fall under a bundle, and it'll be convenient and probably a little bit cheaper. But that's not how the world is set up.
No.
Now we have Sony. And another quick thing is that none of these people are competing with each other the same way we think they are, right? Nintendo is the only true gaming company. Sony does not care about what the PlayStation does. They just do it because it's profitable. What I mean by that is, in Japan, Sony sells insurance. They also make refrigerators and TVs and
everything. Phones,
computers.
I don't think phones
everything,
anymore, but like
everything.
cameras. I mean, everything. Yeah.
Everything. So Sony's like, listen, we make the PlayStation because it's profitable, but I don't think they care. Microsoft is Microsoft. They make everything. I don't think they care if the Xbox does. It's the only real gaming kind of thing that's really in the gaming space is Nintendo. But even that, even that, like, I mean, I feel like Nintendo, this is just a complete conspiracy. Nintendo is probably like one really, really long phone call away from being a movie company. That's just me. That's just complete conspiracy. But, you can't convince me that, like, the people that aren't gamers care about games the same way that the people who are indies staying up all night coding care.
Oh yeah,
Like, you
absolutely.
can't.
Well, and I think Nintendo really, I do think they care the most. Absolutely, I think they're the most consistent with quality for the most part. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of bad Nintendo games, but for the most part, those are also spin-offs. I think PlayStation, yes, they do make their exclusives are heat, but if you put a bunch of their exclusives side by side, they all kind of look the same. Like Last of Us, God of
Yeah.
War, Horizon, you're one character on the slightly left of the screen, almost full body, back of head.
Yeah, yes. I mean, okay, so
And it's the same like
So
running
let's
speed,
say,
the same kind of movement. Like there's like you look at Nintendo, you have Mario where you're doing crazy shit off walls and like all like all these
yeah, no, you have
creative
like
stuff.
two
And
or
then you
three
go to
different versions
Zelda,
of Mario.
and it's this massive adventure where you explore, and then you can go to Kirby and have your more traditional platformer. Like the only one of Sony's is Ratchet and Clank, and that's dying.
Yeah, nobody plays Ratchet and Clank as much as they once did. But watch this, watch this. Okay, time out. What do you think? Let's say E3 was like, you know what, we're coming back. We're having, let's say they work out a thing with publishers. So not necessarily with entire companies, but maybe they reach out to publishers individually. And let's say we got somebody publishing a Sony game or a few Sony games. Let's say got somebody publishing some Microsoft stuff. Lord forbid that they let that happen. And we got somebody publishing some Nintendo stuff. What do you think would be able to save E3? What do you feel is like something that's going to be like, you know what? I might watch E3 again.
All right, two things. So one, don't have it every year. The gaming
okay.
landscape isn't the same as what it used to be, where games could come out rapidly. You have all these spin-offs, and you throw shit at the wall, all these new ideas. You can't really do that anymore. It takes way too long to make a game, and I think that's when like Sony, why they backed out, is because they ran out of shit to show. Like if you watched Sony's last few E3s, it's just a fucking concert for the most part, and they'll show like one, maybe two games.
Yeah, but listen to me. It was like a really pretty concert though. It was like that flute, dog. That
Don't get me
flute.
wrong.
Come on now, stop it.
Don't get me wrong, it was gorgeous, but that's not what I'm here for. And like it's cool, and that shit's always been an E3, right? They always like Just Dance always has this massive stage performance, all this shit. Like
Of course.
I get it, but that was like the majority of their show, which that's a problem. We're here to see new games. We're not here to see a concert for games. Well, again, it's neat. It should not be the majority of it. So yes, first of all, I think every year is too much in the current landscape of gaming.
Okay.
And then, second of all, I think they need to somehow. I have no idea how. But they need to somehow get Sony and Nintendo to come back. Microsoft's gonna stay. They have been this whole time.
Okay.
I don't think they care enough to do their own thing. They need to get them back. Have the big three there. And then again, it feels like this game. It feels like the gaming Super Bowl. While it's not a competition, it's our big event. It's our event. Just like football fans, that's their event. Like that's the thing.
I mean, yeah, no, I feel like that will probably be viable through the publishers. Like, I feel like if you get, I don't know who published Lies of P, but you get a game that looks really, really graphic intensive, and we're gonna put that on PlayStation 4 as well as other consoles. You get somebody who made Ooblets. You get the people who made Ooblets, and it's like, hey, this is our new thing we're working on, and we're gonna publish that through Nintendo. Obviously, Microsoft is gonna be Microsoft, and they're gonna stay, but I feel like you could do that, and I feel like that will probably be something more in the realm of what you might be kind of describing there. And then as far as like if it's a competition, it was totally a competition, dude. Like what the booth of the year, you listen, that we will not forget the 90s E3s where they had half naked women at every booth, like with sparklers for absolutely no reason. There's no reason. There's no reason. We need 9 Laura Crofts handing me like tiny sandwiches to play this new Tomb Raider game. There's no reason.
If you go back and watch old E3s, like the ones that you're saying on Spike, right? Oh, they're hard. It's a lot of like, they have a bunch of guest stars, like famous celebrities who don't give a fuck about gaming, and you could tell. It's so, they'll even walk out and say, I don't know anything about gaming, but I'm here, I got paid to be here. And it's just like, wow, you couldn't give any less of a fuck. They have a bunch of girls, like, and don't be wrong, like, but like, they got a bunch of girls in bikinis up there, which has like nothing to do with gaming though. I'm a nerd.
Yeah, listen, and that's how you get the booth of the year. That's
I
how
can
you
hop
get the
on
booth of the year.
Pornhub at any time. I'm here to see what you got to show me. What am I wasting my time with?
You are wasting your time with dope concerts, okay? And like a 10-minute Uncharted demo, okay?
Yeah.
I need you to relax.
Now, okay,
I need you to calm down over there.
The demos were great. They really are. And I like, that's one of the things I miss the most are those like long demos. And I think we also, during the PS3 era, started getting a lot of problems with that, and it continued through up even until Cyberpunk, where we got fake gameplay demos.
Yeah, no, the all CGI gameplay. I mean, it was at its peak during the PS3 era. But I feel like they made the Order 1886, and then they were like, "This is a cool idea. We're gonna give you 3 hours of it and nothing else." But yeah, no, I feel like it was at its peak during the Xbox 360 PS3 era, but in their defense, I hit the soul out of my microphone. In their defense, the technology wasn't where they wanted it to be, but where they felt that they could get. Right. Yeah. And to be honest, some of those CGI trailers don't look bad. Like the PS3 like announcement trailer with like the tech demo with like these games that never came out and these tech demos that no one else was ever able to play. I mean, I don't know if they're representative entirely in what was capable with the PlayStation 3, but I mean, you look at that and it's like, yeah, no, I can see Uncharted in that. It's like, yeah, no, I can see a new Sly Cooper coming out on that. Right? Like, and it's pretty indicative. So I feel like there's a level where the CGI kind of enhance to it. And you know what? I feel like E3 also pressured a lot of developers to be like, yo, listen to me. Grand Theft Auto is coming. And so we have to make APB look like the biggest crime game ever to exist in crime game history, okay? So listen, I need you to call David Hasselhoff, get him a fake badge. I want you to call, who was big in the 2010s. I need you to call Robert Downey Jr. right now. I don't care how much he costs. Get him, and I want you to make him a criminal, and we're gonna do this, okay? So, you know, like to an extent, I hated the whole fake game trailer era, but at the same time, like, I don't know, man, getting sold a dream, it ain't nothing like it.
my issue with it is just, it's scummy a bit, right? Like, it's a bit misleading. Like, yeah, you go 100%. Back and watch the Killzone 2
I'm still mad at CD Projekt Red for Cyberpunk. I'm still mad. I haven't got Phantom Liberty.
If you go back and watch the Killzone 2 trailer for PS3, right? And this is what the PS3, it was a launch title, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. This was,
you know, either Killzone 2 or 3, yeah.
This is going to be, you know, the next thing in gaming. Like, the PS3 can do anything. Because remember, we're coming out the PS2. The highest selling console today, I think maybe the Switch is past it now. I'm not sure. But this is, like, the gaming god. And now we're moving up to the PS3. This thing can do anything. It had, 20 ports in it. It can do all this crazy shit. Whatever, right?
Do what you want.
Super weird ads. You go look at their ads. It's fucking weird.
No, it's very weird. Yeah, I remember.
But they showed Killzone 2, they didn't, I don't know if they said gameplay or not. I don't think they did, but they made it very misleading and having everything first person and like having it aim in and like do all this stuff and had it run through a mission. And it looked like borderline PS4 graphics.
Yeah, no, it was beautiful. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's like, that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, okay, that was, and Cyberpunk did the same shit, but it's like, it's a little scummy, like, because you know what you're doing. you know what you're doing with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, when you have E3, right? We have E3, we have the gaming Super Bowl, as it were, and it's like, listen, this is a competition because at the end of the day, there's only so many people that are gonna watch E3. Everyone's gonna see this online. The same, let's say, I don't know how many gamers are in the world. Let's say 100 million. The same 100 million people are gonna see this. So in theory, it's not a competition, but at the same time, like we are competing for these same 100 million people's wallets and time and energy, and so that they can pour into our systems and create these communities that make people want to keep playing these games on these systems. And that's how you get the Sony ponies. That's how you get the Microsoft, I forget what we call them to, I don't know what we call them to insult them, but I forget. It'll come to me in a dream. But yeah, no, that's how you get that is E3. But when you have your own kind of platform and you say, you know what, listen, I want to show y'all like 17 minutes of what I want to show y'all. And this is the new God of War Ragnarok, and this is what Insomniac Games is doing. New Wolverine trailer coming in fall. I hope it happens. Sony, hey, make it happen. But yeah, no, like when you have Nintendo saying, hey, listen, these are the 9 games we know we want to release over the course of the next 3 to 5 years. Like that is better than us saying, listen, hey, we're gonna have the world watching. All right, so we need something real good. We need something great right here, right now, okay? And that's how you get canceled games that become way too expensive, or studios get purchased and just ownership changes hands of IPs. That's how you get so many things.
And again, like look at Cyberpunk. It's a great example for all this because they showed
it's
up
a
the
perfect
game
example
way too early, and they had to just keep essentially re-announcing it. Like, yep, it's coming. Again, I think that's another thing that killed E3 and especially moved people away is they would announce a game 3 years out. Well, next year it's like, oh, it's still coming. Like, okay,
yeah,
like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. And that goes to your point as well of having it every other year. Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. But if it were every other year, and now granted, I don't know in this fast-paced world where attention is the new economy, that every other year is as viable as I would love for it to be for them. It could be a thing of maybe they have like the actual event one year and then they do something else gaming related one year. I don't know. Maybe it could just be like a gaming convention one year. Like this is the convention year where we get voice actors to come in. We get developers to come in and like give seminars. It could just be a con in California. You know how many sweaty nerds love PAX? This is perfect. Like I want to go to PAX, by the way. I'm one of you. Don't get in the comments upset. But yeah, no, like for sure. I feel like E3, listen, if E3 never comes back, I will be very sad. But if it does come back, if they do something like, listen, this is going to be our last show, I want it to go out with a bang. And right now it looks like it's on a trajectory to go out on a whimper. And that makes my heart upset.
Yeah, and it hurts. Again, I think Summer Games is the final nail in the coffin because it's kind of already replaced it.
Yeah, no, not kinda. Nobody. Listen, when Summer Games Fest like became consistent and was doing great stuff, by the way, like just being really cool, and like the live streams were really cool and the games were really cool, and you got like big studios getting behind it. Like I remember The Rock like dropped a random video to promote Black Adam. I was like, I know he got a bag for that. Like, I just it makes me sad, but I mean that's. What else is there to say about E3 at this point? You know what I mean? Like it is.
Yeah.
For those of us who maybe don't remember, E3 was the convention. It's hard to describe. Like I want you to imagine just for a second that your favorite people on the internet, your favorite people. I'm talking Markiplier. I'm talking about Will Smith before he slapped Chris Rock. I'm talking about who do you like? Mr. Beast. Everybody is going to be in this building at this time and showing you their best piece of content that isn't going to come out for another year, maybe 2, I think some cases even 5 years. But you want to know something? It was the best content available. Okay, it was the best. Okay, and it's hard to kind of fathom that, right? But I mean, I don't even know what else to say about E3. Like I miss it and I want it to do well, but dog, they're fighting a losing battle.
Oh, they are. I would love nothing more than to see the comeback. I genuinely don't think it's going to happen. And I think that our comments section is the perfect place to put your vote in for E3.
Hey, if you like this video, like that bad boy up. If you didn't, keep on. If you want us to talk about something specific, please get at us in the comment section down below. Somebody read the comments. Might be me. It might be AJ. It might be my dog. Who knows? But yes, no.
It'd be fantastic if you'd consider subscribing. It helps us.
Ooh,
a
subscribe. A subscribe. That's a little.
I gotta throw it a subscribe. I hate
Calm
it.
down.
It's the most cringy thing any YouTuber can do, but you gotta throw it out there.
Oh man.
Should I put a little,
yes, thank you.
Subscribe animation at the bottom right with the
listen.
click.
With the little click. That's my favorite.
I hate them.
But yeah, no. That has been the Mediocre Gamer Podcast. As you can tell, we are mediocre gamers, but we love gaming, and we will talk about it every week on the week. And yes, we love you. Stay healthy. AJ, is there anything else you want to tell the people?
You know what? It's been great seeing you all. Stay fresh, stay pretty, drink water.